So these horses have been on a site in Harefield for over a decade. I first got involved with them about 4 years ago, where we had individual horses up time to time that were going down with various illnesses or having injuries. Some have got out on the road, hit by a car. A mare sadly died giving birth. We've had quite a few problems there. So because the field was infested with redworm, that were added to their needs not being met, as they weren't being wormed. No poo was being collected. Obviously it was just left on the ground to perpetuate the problem with worms further. There were also a lot of hazards in the field. There was barbed wire just strewn all over the field. Some of it had actually been there so long it had kind of grown into the grass. So horses could get their feet hooked underneath it, fall, traumatise their skin. There were lots of problems. There was also a herd that had developed into consisting of 3 separate stallions, which was obviously causing a problem with the mares. They were fighting. Some of them were starting to get superficial injuries. We don't really know who the owners are. We do believe they are owned, they're not abandoned, but we have never had any communication from the owner or any input at all, so we've never been able to make contact with them. They're not microchipped, so they're not identifiable, so we can only conclude that they're not being cared for by whoever it is. So historically, every sort of winter over the past 4 years that I've been involved, things have gone downhill in the field. We've taken various horses away with the RSPCA, but there's been no sort of continuity with caring for the rest of the horses or predicting what might happen in the future. And I think after 4 years of removing, ill horses, sick horses, injured horses, it got to the point where really we needed to do something as a collective for the whole herd, because the historical evidence said that they were all likely to suffer if we didn't remove them. So there's a number of factors involved. There is a piece of legislation called the Control of Horses Act that we can use to remove abandoned horses. However, in this case, it wasn't possible because the land had actually been sold as a cooperative, so there were 70 different owners of that piece of land. So legally, we just couldn't use the legislation, which made it a lot more difficult. So we had to kind of wait for the historical evidence and then for something bad to happen so that we could then use the Animal Welfare Act to remove all of them. I think it comes down to really the enforcement side of things and being able to get together enough people that are willing to take action when they're essentially the horses that were there at the time weren't in a suffering state. It's quite difficult to get everybody to comply to remove them, really. So it takes a lot of historical evidence and a lot of time to gather it together to make a case that these horses need to be removed. So there's a huge public involvement. All the local residents have been caring for these horses for a long time. They started their own charity, their own fundraising. They were providing them with hay and food and water every day. They were checking their welfare. So we had really good eyes there. They were really sensible, really lovely, and they helped us a lot in gathering the evidence to really get to the point where we could remove them.
I have driven past the horses probably for about 10 years, and no one seemed to be owning them or looking after them. And then I think it was a couple of years ago that it started to become really bad, and I could see that they were in quite a bad state. They always were sad, but they had this fight and they wanted to, I don't know, we just saw something in them which was, they were more than the situation that they were in. They were sad, but they were getting on with it, and I think that resonated with a lot of us. We admired that in them. So yeah, we all got together and we thought, we want to be near them, we want to help them, and it was so amazing for us. It gave us so much. We got more than they ever got. We had the spring coming, so the mud was horrendous, and then the summer was coming, more babies were going to be born, they were going to be fighting, then we'd have to get water up to the field, and we just thought, this is going to be brutal, and we don't want them to go for another period of this. They were dying in front of us. And that was the time when we said, we have to do whatever we can now. We can't allow any, and we'd lost so many before, so many had died over the years, giving birth, and one had been in labour for about 3 days. And
I think we'd reached the point where we thought nothing was going to change, and then we just happened to see World Horse Welfare in the field Ross from the council and the vet from the RVC, and I pulled by and I was quite abusive, to be honest, because we just lost one of the mares, and they said, don't worry, something's happening, don't worry. And I cannot tell you, I just drove home on a cloud because it was all ending, this awful nightmare.
We first found out about World Horse Welfare when we started pressuring the council, and they were amazing. Ross at the council was brilliant, and we were just a pain in the neck to him, poor Ross, and Philip, Councillor Philip, and everybody. We just didn't leave him alone. And we went for a meeting with Ross, and he said that he'd been talking to Becky and they were in talks, and we were just delighted. We thought, there's a future. We might not have any deaths this year, and we just thought, but how are they going to do it?
It was myself and the local authority that really decided to take the steps necessary to get them removed. The licensing officer that I was working with is actually an inspector under the Animal Welfare Act, so he can use that legislation to take animals into possession. He has the statutory power to do that. So it was really useful that I was involved with him, and we managed to work together to get them removed with a vet and various other charities and organisations. So we did a roundup of the horses and we got them all loaded and removed from the site. They came here to Hall Farm, where they've been left to settle for a little while because they were unhandled, so it's very stressful having to load them into lorries and remove them, so it's good to give them a bit of time just to settle down. And today we're here with the vets and the farriers and all of the staff at Hall Farm to process them, give them a little health check, maybe trim their feet and just make sure they're all right. So these are really unhandled horses. The difficulty with these horses is because of the local residents' involvement, they're quite tame. So they're happy to eat out of your hand, they're happy to come to you for food, but they have absolutely no training in handling at all. So they don't know what to do, they don't know what you're asking them to do. Yeah, so the horses are currently being dealt with by a team of really experienced horse handlers, grooms, farriers and a team of vets. Some of them have been sedated to keep the staff safe. Everything is done really calm and quiet, and just to make sure that they experience it as the least stress as possible.
We got to a point where our hearts were breaking because we knew they were becoming ill, and then we found Midnight, and it was the day that we found Midnight that we said, this is just, we can't have this anymore. We just can't. In the space of 2 weeks, she'd just gone to skin and bone. She was covered in diarrhoea and she was just standing there.
So one mare on the site had to go to the hospital, the clinic, vet clinic. She was really poor body condition, weak and lethargic, suspected that she did have a problem with encysted redworm. So she went to the RVC, who treated her, have been treating her for the past 2 weeks. She has really perked up and she's doing really well, and I believe she's coming back here to Hall Farm today to meet the rest of the herd. I mean, after visiting that site for such a long time and knowing that I wanted to really remove them, but because of various reasons it was too difficult, to finally get them away and to see them in this environment where one of them here has had its foal in safety, with all its needs met, with the right medical care, the right interaction with other horses, it's just amazing. It's absolutely made all of it completely worth it. And their future looks really bright. They're all really doing well, they're in good condition, their handling is going really well, and hopefully they're all going to get great new homes.
They're not hungry now, they're going to run.
So this is Midnight. Midnight was in very poor condition when we found her, and not only was she in poor body condition, she was also really sick, and she was completely terrified and unhandled. As you can see behind me, she's being groomed by Una. She's standing quite happily tied. She's not scared anymore. She's had some rehabilitation and a lot of handling, and she's got a great prospect ahead of her. I mean, this is by far the best part of my job. to be able to go and pick up these horses and save them from a dire situation, and then come here and visit them, and they're like normal horses. It's absolutely amazing. So today has been a little bit unusual in that we've been able to bring back the local residents from this job that were caring for the horses for so many years, to meet them and see the condition they're in now, and be reunited.
Coming to see them today has just been absolutely fantastic, amazing. They've all grown, we know they're safe, it's lovely to see their feet, they've got proper feet now, proper hooves, just incredible, amazing. Yeah, really looked forward to this day.
It's just been incredible seeing how far the horses have come, and everything that everyone's done for them is just amazing. Even if it's so far as their veterinary treatment, to know that they're happy and healthy is just so amazing to all of us. I think it goes without saying that World Horse Welfare has done incredible amounts for not only us but a huge array of horses and ponies. The horses are looked after tirelessly, and it's evident that they receive round-the-clock care and so much love and attention, which is all important in building the foundation of a good relationship between a human and horse. It's been a really emotional day, but a happy one for us. We're all really touched by everything that everyone has done for us, whether that's through the fundraising or World Horse Welfare directly. So we're really touched, and it's given us a lot more inspiration to keep doing what we're doing and help further support World Horse Welfare.
So on average it takes about £5,000 to rehabilitate a horse, so it's an expensive work, and we couldn't do that without donations from the public. So if you want to either rehome a horse or you're looking to donate, then please go to our website.
I absolutely 100,000,000% would say please donate, because you're saving a life, you're saving a, ours would have died a horrible death in the fields. They're not going to die, they're going to live and have an amazing life, and someone's going to rehome them. And World Horse Welfare will always be there for them. It's a lifetime commitment, so they're never going to go into the wrong hands. So it's like a big cycle, and it's such a wonderful charity. So absolutely, I would say please donate, because without you guys, our horses would have died in that field.